Oh yeah, oh yeah, people. Proceed.
It does not sound like loud.
Huh?
The clapping. It's probably why they use a clacker. There we go. That's better. It's because this mic is like around the sound of like it's very focused on this point right here. Yeah.
Or Craftsman.
I think Joe Rogan, every time I see you with your, back there with the big mic in front of you, bald head.
Awesome.
You need to be sleeved out, tatted up.
Ripping off Joe Rogan.
Well, speaking of the sleeved out, tatted up guy, I'm Rainforest. I'm here with Shakedown right now. And I'm not Joe Rogan. Sorry if I'm disappointing everyone right now. And I'm back with Malone and Dave to talk about more things going on in prison. We were having a good conversation.
And I'm not Brad Pitt, as hard as it is to believe.
Yes.
I'm shocked.
We're all breathless right now because of that fact.
I thought you were like Taylor Swift.
Woo!
So, last episode, we did not get into any of the statistics I wanted to get into. And we just started talking about them off the air. And Dave was going into a lot of really great points about recidivism and what brings people into the system and what can hopefully get them out. And then Malone was feeling personally attacked.
I was joking. Don't take it so seriously. I mean, when have I ever been serious?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
There you go.
But I will run through quickly and get everyone caught up about the stats that I talked about for that I messed up on the last episode, which were 4% is the percentage of the world's population that lives in the United States. 16% is the percentage of the world's prison population that is in the United States. So we have 4 times the prison population compared to our actual population in the world. And then I messed up because in the episode, because it's only 0.3% of the U.S. population is in prisons. And that was in 2021. And a lot of this data only goes up to 2021. And then on this graph shows like prison admissions from 1978 to 2019. The big thing to look at here is like you can see in 1990, like the graph starts like shooting up until about 2006. It goes crazy. But here's the even crazier thing when you think about that. This is the crime rate from 1990 to 2022. And you'll see that in the 90s, the crime rate actually starts shooting downward. So,
well, that's a dangerous piece of information that can be interpreted a lot of ways. I know the first thing some hardcore crime and punishment guy is going to say is, well, that's because we locked everybody up.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely look at it that way, but we're still, if the crime rate's going down, then we definitely should not be locking up more people. There shouldn't be.
Well, wouldn't you say that if the crime rate's going down, we should continue doing what we're doing because it's working?
But this is also the time in Texas where they built all the prisons.
Now, they built all those prisons in the late 80s. They quit building those prisons by the 90s.
Was it? Okay. I stand corrected.
I was there.
That's true. Malone was there
I was in those prisons.
Yeah, I got a firsthand look at a lot of this. But the thing is that this is per 100,000 people. So, and it's a big drop off compared to, this is Yeah, this is the total number of offenders admitted to state or federal prisons each year. So, I don't know. To me, I still don't see how this adds up as showing how it's actually working. Like that locking people up is working, and why this graph should be going up the entire time like it is.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you,
Yeah.
Rainforest, down inside, but I'm just playing the devil's advocate and giving you the answer that I know will be given by those who think that prisons are the greatest thing in the world, and they want to see everybody except for their family and friends locked up in them.
Right.
So
and the other thing to notice too is like in 2010, like it's flatlined, even though
Mattress Mac, whose mind is on crime all the time. It says.
Oh gosh. Yes, I've heard that too. It's been a while since I've heard that. Oh yeah. One thing I noticed too was that while I was in Texas and hanging out with you guys, I downloaded a bunch of podcasts, and the podcast I downloaded, apparently it knew I was in Texas. So I got a bunch of ads for the Hammer in all of my podcasts while I was down there. So that was fun. Fun to hear that voice
Would you
again.
Explain that to people who may not know what you're talking about.
Oh,
Hammer.
Yeah, the Texas
Hammer. That's how he says it. I'm Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer.
Jim Adler and his son, the Texas Hammer. Both of them, the Texas Hammer. Plus, there's 5 other Texas Hammers. They're all lawyers, and they will all get you as much money as they can if you're ever in a car wreck. And they are happy to sue whoever if you are ever injured. That's their premise, is if you are in a car wreck, it's all about getting you money. And that's how they look at the criminal justice system. It's about how do we get you and him money. And he clearly has a lot of it. If as soon as I touch down in Texas, all of my podcasts are filled with his ads. If you turn on a TV in Texas, you'll see his ads. If you drive down the highway in Texas, you'll see his ads. If you anywhere in Texas, you will see the Texas Hammer and his full budget promotions ads where he's standing in the middle of a highway with a sledgehammer going up against an 18-wheeler.
It's very true.
You ever seen that one, the first one that they ever had his son in, and they tried to give him a hammer, and he was all limp wristed. He was like you with your fist bump whenever you got into prison. That faggy fist bump you used to do. He was like holding this hammer, and he couldn't even hold it straight because it was too heavy for him. Those are pretty funny.
No, I haven't seen a whole bunch, but they don't seem like they're getting ready to pass the torch down to the young Adler anytime soon. He's still.
He's already in there. He's already making making money and all that, making ads and all that. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's making ads, but it's not.
He's one of the hammers that you're talking about.
He's one of the many Yeah, there are many Texas Hammers all over the state.
The MC Hammers.
So, all right, and then there's the references, and I can post a link to this at the end of the show if anyone wants to look at it. But that is what I wanted to show on the stats. So, guys, what do you think? What do you have to say?
That's all it was.
That's all it was.
You've been bothering everybody so much. All this bother's been about. You just had to get that off your chest.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, I guess this podcast is all about therapy for you. Well, that's all right. We love you. Anyways.
I just think it's kind of ironic. But, that time you're talking about when why is it that as soon as I start to talk, Malone starts to talk?
Actually, I was talking and you jumped over.
No, you weren't talking.
You're right. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm not going to jump in, I promise.
So, the prison populations jumped, right? Spiked. Yet crime went down. But also in the 90s, people started getting violated a lot, technical violations, and doing a lot of time on them.
Mm-hmm.
That was the half of the people that were in prison in Texas.
Well, that explains,
were simple parole violators.
You're talking about, the spike, where it come from, when the actual crime went down. I mean, so yeah, your prison population could jump, but the rate of crime could go down because they're just locking up the violators, people not reporting, dirty UAs, things of that nature.
That's absolutely true. Like, I say
Actually,
that
it wasn't even that. They were locking up people who were 15 minutes late to a parole interview. They were locking people up for the most minor of infractions. I mean, the most inhuman things that you can imagine. Things that everybody commonly, has problems with. If you're at work or something, or the traffic's bad or something, you couldn't get to the parole office within a very, very limited amount of time, you were subject to go back to prison.
Okay, so yeah, yes. But however, here's what I have to say about those people is, what other shit were you doing, and how many times were you late before because a parole officer's not going to just violate, oh, you're 15 minutes late to your first, oh, you're violated.
You're saying that from the perspective of now. Back then, yes, they were.
I was on parole all of the 90s.
You benefited from Asian privilege, is why they didn't send you back to prison.
Because I'm not black or brown?
Exactly.
I can dig that. Because if you are black or brown, you're fucked.
Yeah. Well, the thing I was going to say is, like, in county jail, that was the thing that everyone said they were in for. They would all say, we're in for violation. That's what I felt like. Like, they even joked about it. It's like, everyone's in here for a violation. So it's crazy. So that does make sense why it, like, that number, like, everyone incarcerated, like, that incarceration number is so high, yet the crime rate is dropping constantly. And then the thing that also goes along with it is that even that crime rate number is dropping, but even here in my nice little mountain town, people think the crime rate is, like, going through the roof.
Isn't it? Well, that bar graph that you showed shows that now that it's actually on the rise again.
It's on the rise relative to what it was like last year, or like in the past couple of years, but it's not as a whole, it's dropped tremendously, especially, like, a lot of people will say, oh, like, I remember when I was growing up, it wasn't this bad, but actually it was far worse when you were growing up compared to how it is now. It's just different. It's just, you've actually, in the past couple of years, it was just a lot better.
Yeah, it's a matter of one of those perception things.
Well, I think in the past too, things were a lot worse, but a lot of things were unreported.
True.
Now, because nowadays, what does everybody do? They run to the police. But back in like our parents' days, I mean, people didn't just run to the police. A lot of crimes happened, and like sexual assaults and whatnot, and they weren't reported because, for ridicule, embarrassment, or whatever, whatever reason there may be. But they just didn't report the crimes.
Right.
I'm not so sure about that either, though. I mean, also a whole lot of things that are pretty petty now that get taken very seriously. People are much more sensitive to that type of thing. So people are going to jail for stuff that back in those days, people didn't go to jail or get tickets for not putting on a seatbelt. They didn't have any laws about not putting on a seatbelt. You could whenever I was growing up, you could stick your whole 5, 6 kids under the age of 10 in your truck bed with a dog and go to the
Of it as well. but I think there's, what is that?
Sorry about that. That was my ringtone.
So, who is that?
Prodigy.
That's what I thought.
It sounded like Transformers on this end.
Know who that is?
Oh, that's okay. That sounds like Prodigy. Okay. So,
No,
all right.
You know who is calling.
Oh, no. Who's called?
Yes, you do know who that is calling.
No, I don't.
Oh, yes, you do. You
Is it
remember, just,
And they keep calling.
who else would call 3 times?
Ben David?
Ben David.
Is that who it is?
We're not going. I'm not saying anything.
Just answer it.
I'm not going to confirm.
Answer.
No, I'm not. I've learned my lesson about that. Who is this?
Okay. Fair enough. All right. And then one of the things we got talking about before we started recording too was about what are the things that help with recidivism as opposed to what we have right now. And what Dave was talking about is like actual life skills compared to like just the fact that people are not offered life skills and they don't have life skills in prison, and how much that would make a difference and how much that would help recidivism, because otherwise they do what they already know how to do, which is steal, sell drugs, whatever, as opposed to balance a checkbook, and make a resume, dress nice for an interview, those type of things.
Pay their bills, do your laundry.
Right.
Problem with that dressing nice thing.
You do have a problem dressing nicely. It's okay.
I do. Because I look like a homeless person no matter what I wear. I go to the synagogue, I'm like wearing a white dress shirt and and slacks, and in some reason or another it drapes over my frame. It just looks like a homeless person trying to dress like a.
I mean, buying clothes that fit might help.
That's its own problem.
Ryan has no problem wearing clothes that fit. I mean, look, your shirt fits well.
I don't know
I mean,
what size I am. I have no idea what I wear.
My shirt seems to fit well. I mean,
Yeah. Well, what? All my clothes were given to me whenever I got out of prison. I don't see any reason to.
see, another prime example. Everything was given to him. He hasn't learned what it is like to go out and buy new clothing.
Right. And
That is not one of that. See, that's my point. That's not one of these things that's going to send somebody back to prison. I'm not going to go back to prison because I don't have stylish clothes.
But it's just an example. So you got all these clothes that were given to you. They're all too big. You feel like you look like a bum all the time. Well,
I don't feel like that. That's what
you
tell
feel
me.
like you look like a bum.
No,
all
I
right?
don't. I think I look.
Did he just say he looks like a homeless person all the
That's
time?
what I am simply quoting the two of you.
I did not say you look like a homeless person.
Yes, you have. You have said that very phrase before.
I may have. I'm not going to deny it.
Oh, trust me. I cried myself to sleep. I know.
I'm glad. Thank God.
I will never forget that night.
Oh, I was going to throw in it. Never mind. I'm not. I was going to throw in.
But no, you're on to a good point, Dave, about the fact that it's like one thing that builds on another, of just not knowing how to do basic things that add up. And like I totally see what you're saying.
That's not something that could help. But they actually do teach these things now to people. And especially to people that have been in prison for long periods of time. But they wait until the absolute last 2 months that you're in prison, and you have a million things going on in your life at that point, and then they try to flash course you through it. Like they're like give you teach you how to do a resume. They sit you down and basically give you a resume because there's a law and there's a federal law now that says that anybody that gets out of prison has to have a resume in their hand. They absolutely have to walk out with a resume. You know, and other little life skills too. They try to teach you, but it's too little, too late, is what it is. But I don't really think that's. I mean, I'm not saying it's not helpful, but I don't think it's all that important to the overall cause of recidivism, of reforming someone. I don't think that's what's going to keep somebody from coming back to prison. I think just my own personal, this is purely anecdotal of what I saw. The people that were the most successful were the people that completely turned their lives around or whatever, were the people that found some kind of passion. They found this thing, they found something they could do with themselves other than crime.
No, I agree with you 100% on that too. But that goes hand in hand. It's like with people like just becoming normal, for lack of better words. I mean, who's normal? But anyway, just for like working, paying bills, buying things, acquiring an apartment, learning how to pay their bills, and doing all these things because it feels good, and it gives them a purpose other than, sitting around and, being a tweaker and, doing whatever. It gives them a reason to live. You know what I mean? And it also, the more you earn, the more you have that you've worked hard for, the less likely you're going to want to, fuck it all off by doing something stupid.
Right. And I like
that's reasonable, but you know what? Reason rarely factors into these things. I mean, what possible, real, rational, reasonable thing would ever convince somebody that's a good thing to do that's going to put them at risk of going to prison? It's not. It's the reason doesn't really factor into the minds of the people that we're talking about, or at least I wouldn't say that's one of the bigger players in their thinking.
Okay. However, so they're not thinking; they're just reacting, right? However, how many of these people do they have something to like put it this way? I'm not going to go out, and if I were to decide I was going to go out and do some crime, I would think long and hard about it, because I've spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of working hours, and a lot of money getting to the point where I'm at now. And I won't just throw that away, because this all means something to me. I lost a ton of money moving back into this apartment that I'm in now because I love this apartment. This place feels like home to me. So
I love it too.
Oh, you're so sweet. You can sleep in a garage.
Thanks a lot.
But that's what but it's like, but you've got somebody that goes to prison. They didn't learn anything in prison. They get out, they go back to their mom's house, you know what I mean? And, and they're just chilling, not doing nothing. Mom's like, you getting a job? You're like, yeah, bitch, I'm going to get a job. You know what I mean? And they just the same in that same environment where nothing changes. So why are they going to change? They don't have any reasons to change.
The Shakedown was produced at Longmont Public Media. And our theme song, Shakedown, was brought to you by Envato Elements. If you want any Shakedown merchandise, or you want to support the show, you can go to waywordpress.com. That's WAYWORD press.com.